Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 3 of What If Naruto Was Gilgamesh Reincarnation. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, guys, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, yes, I indeed have 3 more channels, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be down in the description, so go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, guys. So without further ado or wasting more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode? Let us begin now, guys. So, the last part that we left off, Kakashi came to within the hospital. Yes, he woke up in the hospital as a nurse that came in told him that he was going to be fine. However, the Hokage did inform them to summon him the moment that Kakashi was awakened. So she made her way off. As Hiruzen arrived, Kakashi tried to recall what happened as the memories came back. He told the group to not hold back. That was his first mistake. Naruto did warn him about that, but he did not listen. He was a bit overconfident despite hearing what Naruto could do. And he seemed to underestimate Naruto's cocky and arrogant personality as well. Naruto proceeded to nuke Kakashi, firing his treasures at top speed. Kakashi evaded a few, but the others, he did not know they would explode as they did, rather violently. Team 7 was given the okay grade to pass, as this is one of the things that Hiruzen wanted Kakashi to help him with, fixing Naruto in this manner as well. While that was going on, at Kumo, the girl known as Yujito, who possessed a strange powerful blade, was training, preparing herself and getting herself ready for what is to come, as she would be dominating the upcoming Chunin exams. The Raikage was happy to send a group this time because once and for all Konoha was going to bow to the superiority of his village when they realized that they are outclassed in every single way possible. Some time passed as Team 7 found themselves going on a mission. Throughout that time, Naruto had refused to do the D ranks, as he found them beneath him and he would not stoop to that level. He outright refused. So here they were now going on something much higher as they made their way. Sakura found Naruto to be a bit too much. Yes, he was rather arrogant and he did not really care for any of them. Naruto showed how brutal he was when he faced off against the demon brothers, as he did not hesitate to cut them down, surprising the other two. They still continue on the mission, but on the way there, Naruto vanished all of a sudden. He took a few minutes to get back, as none of them knew what happened or where he went, as he would not explain to them. They then came across Zabuza, Momochi. As they started the battle, Naruto showed that Zabuza was nothing as he completely shattered his blade with one of his own. Zabuza did not expect the blade to explode. When Haku arrived, Naruto targeted Haku as well. However, he suppressed himself, as he did not want to end their life just yet. He had something planned. Making his way as they headed back towards the house, Naruto was not there for their training because, well, this was beneath him and he didn't need anything from this. A few days passed when a boat finally arrived. At first the people thought that it was Gato coming to harm them, but it was not. Naruto had brought a giant ship with supplies and help as he spoke to the people of Wave. As long as they swore their loyalty to him, he would change their country and he would change their fate. His words inspire them. His overwhelming charisma. It also turns out that Naruto had a buttload of money. More money than he even knew what to do with. He was vastly more wealthy than anyone thought, owning many establishments, including hotels. Things that he did not tell Jiraiya about either, anyone else. Yes, he had a lot of money. When Gato heard about this and what was going on, he decided to make a little trip there. As Naruto had been speaking to Tsunami, he wanted her to be the middle person in this. He saw the way the people rallied behind her. He saw the way she was gentle and she handed out the goods and spoke to the people when they started to fuss over the things that Naruto brought. As she thought it over, Naruto proceeded to demolish the two goons that came to kidnap her. As he made his way to the bridge, Haku Ice Mirror did not stand up against Naruto, as Sasuke seemed to be falling but he was fine. Naruto immediately took Haku out, without killing him of course, because he had a job for Haku and Zabuza. He was willing to pay them as well. When Gato finally arrived, Naruto split his head open, like he was absolutely nothing, before demolishing all of his people. Upon leaving the wave, the place was a different place entirely, as Naruto spoke to Zabuza. This wasn't some gig. He was going to be working for him, so he demanded that he remove the headband and swore his loyalty to him, as he can see the benefits far outweigh what was going to happen if he returned back to Kiri. So yes, that was good for him. Absolutely splendid for him. Some time passed as Naruto returned back to the Hidden Leaf. His name was being spread around the Elemental Nation more and more. People knowing of him more and more. Those believing that he was becoming too much of a threat and they should take him out. Well, that was going to be their last mistake. Unfortunately though, the council would like to speak to Naruto. His actions, not to mention his personality, was showing them a part that they could not allow to slide. As his movements of going to that village and starting something without permission and just investing into something this large. And Konoha wasn't a part of it. They might deem this as a threat. So yes, they wanted to speak with him. So yeah guys, basically let's play it off. You guys can switch across the play check to yourself. So say we jump right into this brand new episode. Begin now guys. We begin this episode with Naruto. As he arrived, he noticed there was two envoys standing at the door, waiting there. He stepped forward as he gazed towards the both of them. Can we get this over with? I'm a really busy person after all, he said. The one on the left spoke up. You are not given the authority to enter just as yet. Be quiet and wait, he said. As Naruto looked rather amused. You know, the way you're standing, I would presume that you are looking at me like I'm some kind of threat. And I don't like the idea of people within my own village seeing me as a threat. What's wrong with the way that we're standing? The one on the right said. I'm not talking to either of you, said Naruto. Yes, I know you're there. They did not move, but they were shocked. The envoys hidden within the shadows. They were surprised the boy was able to pinpoint them, let alone sense them, as the other two felt the signal. The door opened up as Naruto gazed inside. He stepped forward as his gaze swept over the entire room. This was a council of Konoha, those that came together to make critical decisions when the Hokage was either out of commission or not here. But the Hokage was here as well. However, each of them represent a part of the village, each of them sharing an attribute that helped the village growth and, well, security and protection. So, they all had a right to be seated on the council, given their political views and their helping hand. Not to mention each of them was a clan head. The only ones that were not was the Hokage and those three elders over there. As much as Naruto did not care about much of this, the Sannin had spoken about it, and his brain usually kept knowledge locked away inside without worry. So here he was, as all eyes focused on him, all of them looking at him. Perhaps they were trying to make their gaze a bit intimidating, but Naruto just did not see it as such. He did not fear anyone in this room, not even the Hokage. There was no one on this planet that he would ever consider running from in a battle. Absolutely no one. Harrison cleared his throat. It seems like they were having a conversation before he entered. He could see that by the way the room was set, and the way some of their bodies were in motion. It has been stated a long time ago that his cryptic red eyes were vastly powerful than one would believe, and they were able to gather such small detail that it was truly shocking. One might try to compare it to the Sharingan, or maybe even higher, if you truly understand what his eyes could actually see and understand. Harrison spoke. His tone was formal as he was speaking as the Hokage. Naruto Namikaze, do you know why you have been summoned to the council? He asks. The name Namikaze, many of them, immediately thinking about the fourth Hokage, and just how much this boy looked like him, except for the eyes though, and also the look on his face. Minato always had this calm look when they weren't in a dire situation, but Naruto's face was always set in a disapproving look, like he did not think much of anyone around him, not at all. And they could all see that clearly. If I'm not mistaken, I was asked to be here because you all seem to fear the idea that my sudden involvement in the Land of Wave will lead to some future problems with the Hidden Leaf and myself. I can assure you all that this is just a huge waste of time. As much as I've been rather disappointed in the security and the strength of this village, I do not intend to abandon it. In actuality, I intend to become the future leader of this village. And when I do, I shall harness the true power of Konoha and use that power to rule over the entire elemental nation. I'm sure the other nations will soon fall under one banner once they understand the true might this village possesses when not being suppressed. However, given the current situation, I believe that is some time away from now. Until then though, your worries are not to be stated because there is none. All of them were absolutely shocked, as they wonder if they were hearing correctly. It sounded like the kid just said that he was going to become the Hokage and then take over the entire elemental nation like a tyrant. And not to mention there was a disrespectful way that he spoke regarding the Hokage Harrison, that the man was not properly governing the village security or making the village strong. His tone proved that he did not see much as the Hokage as a leader for them right now. Koharu was the one to voice her opinion in this matter. While it is good for shinobis to have confidence in themselves, I am not sure where you come off from, child, she said. And not to mention your words. You think that you might be able to outplay many with your words, but most of us understand you clearly, and your clear disrespect to the Hokage and our village will not just stand. Naruto tilted his head as he looked towards her. Are you speaking to me? He asks. Of course, she said, looking at him. Well then, I'll advise you just this once. Watch your mouth when you speak to me, you old wench, Naruto said, looking at her. As far as I'm capable of seeing at the moment, the only ones in here that outrank me are the clan heads, the Anvus, and the Hokage himself. Your title does not mean anything to me. You are merely an advisor with no powers over the shinobis or no power over the physical department. So I suggest you keep your damn mouth shut. Everyone was floored by that response. It was a truly shocking one. So shocking that Koharu was actually speechless. A woman that was always able to counteract or react to anything that was said. She was knocked right off her ass, unable to properly respond to that. Not expecting that to leave the boy's mouth, none of them did. while most of them did not like the elders because of their, well, they always come with these rules or certain pleads, certain advice that was not needed. However, they were respectful, but this child was not. Naruto, Hiruzen said in a stern tone, we spoke about this. You are not allowed to just come in here and speak to anyone, however which way you feel. Hiruzen said as he gave the boy a stern look. Fine. I'll watch my mouth, said Naruto. So will you kindly tell her to keep her shut? Naruto, Hiruzen said once again. What? I did speak in a respectful tone, but I'm not talking to her but you. Hiruzen sighed until someone else spoke up. It was none other than Danzo Shimura. Danzo was looking Naruto directly in his eyes, one eye seeming to be able to look into two. As Naruto looked at him, he could feel the words on the tip of the man's tongue. You speak like you do not see much or care for much within this village. Or do you respect any a part of this village? Why do you think that we should stand by you when you don't show an ounce of respect? Not just for the ninjas or the people here, but for the village in a whole. And you've already made your plans and preparations with another without any request or any permission granted by any of us. Why do you think that we should stand for something like this from let alone a child, Danzo said. As Naruto looked directly into that eye of his, Naruto tilted his head to the right. Danzo started to feel strange. It was like the kid knew something that he should not. First of all, said Naruto, my deal with the Land of Wave has nothing to do with Konoha. As far as I can remember, there are a lot of other clans in this village that has outside deals with different villages. Those not including any of the major ones are certain companies or products. And if I'm not mistaken, permission was not given because if offered were seized in the right time. And as I can say, while I was on this mission, I had to make a quick gesture and a movement in order to secure the people's confidence in me. Any later and I would lose it. So, I made a quick decision to make sure that I would be able to get a hold on this land. And besides, if you want to bring up the fact that I'm not a clan or a part of one, if you all have forgotten, the Uzumaki clan, from my mother Kushina Uzumaki, I still had the blood running through my veins. And besides, there is no one within this village that can do this. Suddenly the gates open up behind Naruto as spears emerged from each of them. Counting the spears, there were the same amount of spears for each clan head. Like he was going to try and kill them. Even the Anvus tensed up. So as far as you all can see, this is a bloodline. Even though Naruto knew it was not. So this bloodline can be transferred. And as the last living Uzumaki within the village, I hereby state my claim to restart the Uzumaki clan, to pass on this bloodline of mine, known as the Gate of Babylon, in order to strengthen and empower Konoha for future generations. So as you can see, I'm all set, said Naruto. If you would like to make your complaints, go ahead, but I can assure you, most of them I will not listen. So do not waste my or your time, because my time, I'm sure, is more valuable. Naruto said as he was done talking. Every single thing he had something to say about it. He was able to counter all of their words. As many of them were not liking his attitude, but for a kid, this boy was incredibly smart. Koharu was pissed off, given how he spoke to her as she tried to make the claim that he could not do this, but Hiruzen had to speak up and said that Naruto was in his right to do this, and as the last member of the Uzumaki clan, possessing a very powerful bloodline that no other possess. It is a very treasured weapon that they couldn't afford to pass up. "Oh, don't you worry," said Naruto. "Soon, the land of Wave will prosper, and I will allow goods to be sold here in Konoha." "Yes, you heard me correctly, sold. But given that I'm a part of the village, I'll give you guys a good price," Naruto said. As disrespectful as he was, there wasn't much they could say about anything really. However, they could put sanctions on him. Koharu pointed this out. She just wanted enough time to, well, put the boy down, as Naruto could not become a clan head unless he was a Jonin, and also if he passed certain requirements that include his clan had to provide something for the village. The Aburame clan, they had their bugs as a second layer of sensor. The Yamanaka clan, they had their mind technique which they helped the village to use against prisoners that they wanted information. The Nara clan had their deers, which provide special herbs in the forest out there. Yes, that forest with the deers had special herbs. Every clan had their own benefit that they passed on to Konoha. So Naruto had to be able to pass one on as well. However, he already had a growing village that he could use to give Konoha a bit of produce and supplies and make them pay for the rest. The kid was extremely smart. They all realized after understanding this. However, his arrogance, none of them liked it. But they have come across arrogant people before, like Fukaku in the past. But this was a whole new level. However, there was nothing really they could do to him because he was well in his right despite not telling them. Given the fact that he saw the opportunity was going to vanish if he did not do anything. And that was something that was even in the official handbook of Konoha. So yes, Naruto left that meeting without anyone able to say or do a damn thing to him. Time skip. There was a huge explosion inside of Konoha. However, the explosion was underground. It took away from many of the violent blasts that would have spread, as something big was taking place in the upper district of the village, where all the more wealthy members and clan members resided. Construction was taking place. There was a lot of people here, a lot of people. Some of them were even builders from the land of Wave as well. There Naruto sat as he watched. They were working on his palace that he wanted to create. Since returning back to the village, he's been staying in a hotel, but that wasn't suitable anymore. As Naruto was working on the Uzumaki Palace / Namikaze, he liked the last name Namikaze, but the Uzumaki name could be used as a clan name, which could make him get a lot of benefits from it, which he was going to use to help himself greatly. Naruto already had the blueprints and the design, as he already knew what he wanted, and it was going to be spectacular. Time skip. A man known as Suyen was cursing at Naruto as he evaded Naruto's spears and weapons. "You're just a brat," he shouted. "Useless without your damn weapons. Why don't you come down here and fight me like a man? Oh, I forgot. You're nothing but a useless brat who can't rely on anything but those blades of his. And you call yourself a shinobi. You call yourself a warrior." Naruto looked at him. "First of all, watch your damn tone when speaking to me. And I never remember having a conversation with you where I told you anything about myself, or I call myself a shinobi or a warrior. You claiming that I'm nothing without my weapons. Well, I claim that you're just pathetic and weak. Even after devouring the hero water, what can you muster? That small amount of power. Would you like me to show you what true power is? You vile, bacterial garbage." Naruto raised his hand and opened at least 50 gates. Suyen backed away, sweat running down the side of his face. Disappear. The place was demolished as Suyen's body was reduced to nothing. His body was torn apart within the explosion. He was not fast or strong enough to dodge anything. The group that Suyin had came with was cowering in fear as they watched their strongest just fall. Naruto stood above them like a deity gazing down towards them. In around 1 minute and 50 seconds, backup from this village will arrive, and all of you will be sentenced to prison. Perhaps some of you will be put to death for your actions here. However, I have another offer for you. You all seem capable even if you are weak. Come and work for me, and I will ensure that today that you don't die. However, going against me or going against my word will equal in an instant death. I'll give you 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Stop! It was a girl that stepped forward, a woman to be quite precise. She looked behind her as she looked at the others. They had no choice. Suyin was a very insane man who believed that he deserved a lot more. He was a leader of a team in the past, a team of this village known as the Land of Waterfall. One of his students was Shibuki, the new ruler that was going to take place for his father. After Shibuki's father passed, Suyin returned, believing that he was a rightful ruler. And he gathered a group of misfits and ninjas over the years. Some even from this village that chose to follow him. But now they were lost because everything that they worked so hard for was demolished. It was just 2 of them to be quite precise. However, the other 2 that was actually from this village was dead. They were the first 2 that Naruto had split. Well, he split their head open. These others had no loyalty to this village, but they had to Suyin. But it was shaky at best, given the ideology that the man possessed. The strong shall always prevail over the weak, but this boy in front of them, he wasn't just strong, he was godly. So they accepted his terms. When backup finally arrived, Naruto was the only one left. The broken cup of the hero water. Everything was destroyed as Shibuki arrived with his people. Shibuki was grateful as Naruto saw a brilliant opportunity when he noticed the girl beside Shibuki. She seemed to notice him as well. Maybe they have a connection because of their status. Their tailed beasts he was referring to. As Sasuke and Sakura finally arrived, Kakashi had to return back to the village and he left them here for an easy mission, but as usual, Team 7 was like a magnet for danger as the mission turned into chaos pretty quickly. The both of them seemed to have done well though, as Naruto had stepped away from them, bringing most of the threat, so they should have been able to handle that. If not, they would have been dead, and that would be their fault because they were pathetic. So with that, the mission, turning from a normal C rank, jumped to a A, finally came to an end. Time skip. Naruto was calmly making his way. As he was walking, he heard some ruckus, but he did not let that bother him. Turning down the alley, Kakashi wanted to speak with them. Naruto saw the different members arriving within Konoha, so he presumed that it was because of the upcoming Chunin exams. He heard rumors. Of course, this would be the opportunity for him to show the might of the Namikaze/Uzumaki. As Naruto saw a child, he recognized a child that was a grandson of the Hokage. As Naruto stopped, there was 2 others there. They seemed afraid. The other one was being held up by someone from the hidden sand. "What is going on here?" said Naruto, his gaze fixated on the boy, dressed in all black with strange makeup on his face. "This doesn't have anything to do with you. Now run along before you get hurt," Kankuro said. His sister, Temari, stood by his side as she sighed and massaged her temple to the ruckus that Kankuro was causing. They just arrived to the damn village. "While I don't care much for the child, he is the grandson of the Hokage, And you are a sand ninja stepping into my village, causing harm to my people. I'll give you 5 seconds to release him, said Naruto. 5, 4. Kankuro looked up at Naruto. Who the hell does this guy? Kankuro had to quickly pull his arm away as a blade materialized out of a gate. Out of nowhere, it slammed into the ground. Konohamaru felt himself suspended in mid-air. He was confused on what was going on. As Naruto was holding him by the back of the shirt, he placed him down on the ground. Get out of here. Immediately. His gaze scared the 3 children as they ran off. Kankuro snapped his gaze up towards Naruto as he looked rather pissed off. Naruto intentionally held back the speed of his treasure so this guy would not lose his hand. As Naruto stepped forward, intending to walk by him. However, Kankuro stepped into Naruto's way as he was about to BAM! Naruto backhanded him, sending Kankuro sailing. He slammed into the wall with a shocked, painful look on his face. Next time, don't get in my way. Temari, with the intention to defend her brother, reached for her fan. You have a pretty face, so I'll give you a warning, said Naruto. Attack me, and you die. Temari froze up when she felt something behind her, as 2 of the gates opened up, one to her right, one to her left, right out of her view. The blades, inching to split her skull open. She stopped what she was doing as Naruto walked away. Up in the trees, Gaara of the desert watched Naruto leave. Gaara watched him curiously as he did not say anything, nor did he intervene. He simply stood there and watched. Yes, he simply stood there and watched, not saying a single word for some reason. He simply watched. He knew that the boy was well aware that he was here, but he simply did not care. There was something about him, something that made Gaara feel strange. What was this? As Naruto glanced over his shoulder and his red eye focused on Gaara, he felt like his body was trembling, which was odd. Meanwhile, the Kumo team was making their way. Yujito, as she was walking alongside Amoy and Karu, her teammates. There she was rather calmly, checking out the scenery, gazing around Konoha. Her weapon was not visible on her. As she looked around, taking in everything that she could see, this was her chance to prove to the other nations the might of her village that she will one day rule. Her clothing was similar to the one that she was wearing while training, but the blue was much darker this time. As she walked with this confidence, this drive, despite being young, she had this confidence about her. That is when she felt something. The others did not. She paused, causing Amoy to stop sucking on his lollipop. He glanced over towards her. What's wrong, he said, seeing that calculated look in her blue gaze. What is this? What? Karu asked, confused by her look. She felt something abnormal. However, she wasn't the only one. A distance away, but not too far, Naruto paused. He turned his gaze around, trying to pinpoint what was going on before his body suddenly dematerialized. Naruto appeared in mid-air looking around. When he locked on his target, upon looking at everyone, including every Konoha ninja, their body was average. There wasn't anything special, even if they might be powerful as hell, but looking at this girl, there was a strange blue aura that surrounded her, that only his eyes could see, not the Byakugan, not the Sharingan. Naruto descended down, so fast that he accidentally cracked the ground slightly. He was intrigued. It's been a long time since he's been rather intrigued about someone. However, Yujito saw the same thing. When she looked at him, What she saw was a red and golden aura, not one but two, trying to compete against the other. And it was all him. His power was so great. It was overwhelming. She alone could feel this. She alone could sense this. Because they were similar, which was strange. As they looked at one another, the others were confused by the cold gaze that they share, yet there was no malice behind it, just interest. But it seemed so cold and angry for some reason, which was rather odd, given that there was no malice or hate behind their gaze. "Who are you?" said Naruto. "As far as I know, you're the only one that possessed this aura. I should be asking you the same," she said to him. "Why can I see this on you and no one else?" "I do not know," said Naruto as he looked at her. "I never thought I would come across someone that just excite me from a gaze," Naruto said, stepping forward, as he seemed to be admiring her. He floated around her, confusing the others. Was this some sort of flirting or something like that? Amoy thought to himself, Karu thinking the same, as Naruto paused right in front of her. "It seems you're something special." "What is your name?" said Naruto. "Ask before giving. That is rather rude, especially for someone who's supposed to be a gentleman," she said. As Naruto looked at her, his lips set in an amusing smile. Her gaze did not waver once. "I like you," he said. Her reaction did not change one bit. "I am Naruto, Uzumaki or Namikaze. Whatever you prefer," he said, looking at her. "Most people has been confused on what to call me these days as well." "So you're him?" "Yes, I am. I mean, the son of Minato Namikaze," she said to him. "Yes, that as well. Now tell me, what is your name?" "I am Yujito," she said. "As you can see, Genin of Kumo, citizen of Land of Lightning." The both of them were silent after that, as Naruto smiled. "You intrigue me," he said. "I'll be watching you." He then vanished once again. He did not even acknowledge the others, like they existed at all. "What the hell was that?" Karu asked, looking towards Yujito, a confused look written all over her face. Yujito glanced up. "I have no idea," she said. She truly did not know what the hell was that, or how she was able to see that power that surrounded him. She had no idea why. But as far as she knew, that did not show on anyone else, not even someone as powerful as the Raikage. Which begs the question, what was so special about that boy? Wait, she was so lost in her thought and talking to him that she barely realized what he said. His last name, Namikaze. Am I the only one that realized that he said, "Call him Uzumaki or Namikaze"? Isn't Namikaze the name of the fourth Hokage? Amoy asked, causing the two of them to look at him. Time skip. "Where is he?" Sakura said, glancing around, as Naruto was late for them to enter within the academy. Sasuke had his arms folded, his eyes focused on the academy. Sasuke was looking forward to this. He was rather pissed off as of late, because Naruto was outshining him. Almost everyone within the village was talking about Naruto. Yes, his popularity was growing drastically, and that was pissing Sasuke off to no end. As much as he pretended like he hated the fame, he also hated the fact that Naruto's strength was greater than his, and everyone was acknowledging it as such. As they no longer said he was on the team with the Uchiha, they were saying that he was on the team with the Namikaze, and Sasuke did not like that, not one bit. So he was looking forward to dominating the exams. He has been training hard and preparing himself, ready to take on any challenges ahead. That is when Naruto arrived. His hair was slicked back, his red eyes on display as he was dressed in a black leather jacket with a white shirt underneath, dark pants, same color of his jacket, and he was wearing black boots. As usual, he had no weapons or anything on him. "You're late," Sakura said. Naruto gazed towards her, just for a single moment before stepping by her and Sasuke. The both of them grumbled under their breath, to the absolute little that Naruto think of the both of them as they made their way inside. Upon arriving to the second floor, there was a group situated there waiting. As the group was standing by, there were two people standing there. Sasuke immediately took notice of what was going on, and a cocky smirk came on his face as he stepped forward. "How about you drop the genjutsu and get out of my way," he said. "Genjutsu?" the guy at the door said. "I'm not going to ask again," Sasuke said. "Tuh, seems like this little punk has some fight in him." Both of them narrowed their gaze before dashing towards each other with a kick. However, someone stopped the both of them. A guy in a green spandex. As he started to speak how unyouthful it was for them to come to blows. Neji Hayuka glanced over, and his eyes landed on Naruto, immediately knowing who he was. However, Naruto did not spare him a glance, nor did he spare anyone else. He simply walked, making his way through the facade, as it seemed like he went through the wall, but he actually went through the genjutsu that was disguised to cover up the real entrance. Moments later, Sakura and Sasuke arrive as they caught up to him. "Hey you!" Naruto did not look up. However, the person flipped and landed right in front of him. It was none other than Rock Lee. He landed in a fighting pose. Lee opened his mouth. "I've heard about you. The one that they're calling the..." Lee wasn't able to finish his sentence as a hammer crashed into his stomach. Said hammer launched Lee into the wall, where he collapsed down on the ground. "Tuh," Naruto said calmly as he walked past, both Sasuke and Sakura looking down. Sasuke walking away as Sakura looked down towards the boy. She watches Naruto's strange hammer dissolve into light. Lee was out cold, just from one hit. That was no normal hammer. And not to mention he didn't expect Naruto to simply attack him like that. And it was too fast for him. Arriving, they saw Kakashi standing there. He smiled towards them. "What are you doing here?" said Naruto. "Oh, I'm just here to wish my cute little Jennings good luck," he said. "And here to remind you guys to watch each other back. You hear that, Naruto? You're on a team. Remember that." Naruto spared him a glance before simply walking by him as he opened the door. The moment he stepped in, he was hit by killer intent as all eyes turned towards the group. Sakura started to step away. Sasuke was actually getting giddy as he realized that this was what he was looking for, this challenge. He was going to dominate every single one of them. In the room, Yujito turned her gaze as it fell on Naruto. She saw the aura that resonated from his form. A small smirk came on Naruto's face. "Pathetic," he said out loud. "Is this what you people truly have to offer? Let me show you what true killer intent is." Yujito stepped in front of her teammates to shield them from what is to come, as she was the only one that could see it. However, Naruto paused as he turned his gaze, his red eyes fixated on someone within the crowd. A girl. Naruto dropped the energy that he was about to release upon them as he walked, leaving his teammates behind. Everyone moved away from his path as his red gaze looked rather intimidating. The young girl, who was rather frightened because unlike most she could sense it, she was an excellent sensor. Her two teammates, two boys. "Wait, is he looking at us?" one of them asked. The girl started to back away until she was against the wall. The two boys stood their ground though, as they gazed towards Naruto. They were a bit taller than him. "Move," he said once. It seems like they did not comprehend his words. After all, if they did, they would have known that it was in their best interest to get the hell out of his way. Chains came out of nowhere as it spread through the gates. Said chains grabbed their arms and launched them to the opposite side of the room. Naruto walked towards the girl as she was trembling. She had red hair and red eyes as well, along with glasses. She was fearful, thinking that he was going to kill her. For what reason she did not know. However, to her surprise, he merely took her hand. He started to examine it. He then looked right into her eyes. His red eyes were more ferocious and dangerous just by a glance. "Tell me something," he said, calmly speaking to her. "Are you perhaps an Uzumaki?" The look was all that he needed to confirm his theory. As stated before, Naruto had quite special eyes, and this girl had Uzumaki blood running through her veins. No, I don't know what that..." "I see," said Naruto. He already understood what was going on, just from the way she spoke, and the way she stammered, and the fear in her eyes. However, one of her teammates came running in with a short blade. Naruto picked himself up and turned towards him. The boy stopped utterly in his tracks, his whole body trembling. "I presume if I were to kill you here, I would probably be disqualified. But I'm certain that there will be an opportunity, and I will find you just to send a message back to your village." He then looked down towards the girl. "There is nothing to fear from this moment on. You are safe." With that, he pulled himself back up and started to walk, completely ignoring everything that was being said. "Karen, what the hell was that?" the boy that Naruto threatened to ask, looking towards her. Karen's gaze was fixated on Naruto's back, feeling strange. I... What? Spit it out, he shouted. I don't know, she said, in a timid tone, as she sounded afraid. She didn't know what it was, but it felt strange. Strangely comforting. Over to the other side, Yujito was wondering what the hell was that, as she glanced towards the red-headed girl. She looked down towards herself, unsure why she felt this strange feeling, as she proceeded to shrug it off. When Naruto arrived towards his team, the others had arrived as well. He did not really care much for them, nor did he really knew any of them. However, one of them kept on looking at him. It was a girl from before. If he remember correctly, it was the one that he turned down within the class. She seemed to be rather angry, judging by her glare, but that did not concern him as he closed his eyes and leaned up against the wall. When Naruto cracked his eyes open, he saw something. Ninjas with musical notes on their headbands attacking a Konoha ninja. Naruto watched carefully as the guy swung, but the guy with the glasses that was giving Sasuke information proceeded to jump away. However, he still felt the after effect. Sound waves, Naruto thought to himself. The red-haired girl over to the other side, known as Karen, was watching Naruto carefully, as her two teammates did not like the boy in the slightest, and they were releasing their anger on her for that, in their hurtful words, as Naruto simply remained quiet. Finally, the proctor arrived and they were all seated. Looking down towards the tests, he found himself not knowing these answers. He never truly went to the academy. While he did know a lot, academical-wise as well, these were not something that he knew because he did not focus that much on the aspect of being a ninja so much. However, he did saw what was going on. It was rather easy to see. Inside of Naruto's vault, it wasn't only weapons that were stored inside. He had all sorts of items. Items from his past life that were more than useful in this. as Naruto proceeded to summon something rather quickly. Not even the proctor noticed the mirror on the ceiling. It blended in, seemingly merged with the ceiling, as it fused with Naruto's eyes, allowing him to see through the reflection of the mirror. As his right eye was no longer red, instead, it was clear, as he saw the papers. There were some that were already finished. He presumed that they were planted here for them to cheat. So he wrote down the answers. They tried to test their nerve by trying to trick them to give up, but Naruto had an unshakable will, and there was nothing in this world that could break him. Once that section was done, they were taken to a place known as the Forest of Death. He never really focused on the name, but he's been in there countless times to face off against the animals. The animals who were deadly afraid of him now because he ended most of their population. Anko was trying to make the place seem rather intimidated. However, Naruto proceeded to scoff. She heard it and launched a kunai right towards his face. However, the weapon was deflected, but she arrived behind him though, as she stood there with a smile on her face. You know, it's the cocky ones like you that dies first. Well, if it's against someone like you, I doubt that would be possible. Uncle was confused by his words. Did this brat really think? She paused when she saw something. Right beside her temple was a blade appearing out of a strange wormhole of sorts. However, Uncle felt another presence behind her. She spun. It turns out that it was a grass ninja, handing her back her kunai that Naruto deflected. The grass ninja was rather creepy, leading to Uncle warning him that doing something like that could get them killed. Returning back to her station, Naruto was the one that took the scroll, as they got a heaven scroll. When the time came, they were given the go-ahead as they enter within the forest. Upon moving within the forest for around 5 minutes, Naruto held his hand out as a small blade appeared in his hand. He pointed to Sakura, the hilt to be quite exact. What is this? She held on to it. There's something I have to take care of, said Naruto, looking around. Take that. If your life is in true jeopardy, throw it at whatever that is trying to endanger and kill the both of you. I still need you two to pass this part, Naruto said, remembering what the woman said. Wait, were you? Sakura couldn't get to finish, as Naruto was gone. She cursed as he abandoned them in the damn forest. They were supposed to stick together as a team. Sasuke scoffed. Come on, he said. We don't need him. Sakura was surprised. He said we. However, he was just in his own thoughts, pissed off at Naruto's actions, not really taking her or her feelings into the equation. So with that, they made their way off, Sakura tucking the blade away, just in case. Time skip. Karin was running, as her teammates were using her as a bait. As usual, she had no say in the matter. She was running, as a giant bear was chasing after her. They were in the trees watching, even smirking. She truly, utterly hated them. She hated everyone in that village. She despised them. Her whole life has been nothing but misery. Her mother was taken away from her because of the special ability that she possessed to heal others with a bite. And now, she who inherited that ability was also a target for her own village, who used her as a pawn. The bear was catching up on her as she tripped and fell. This was it. She thought to herself as she gazed up towards the ferocious creature. She was going to die. She thought to herself. That was until a golden hammer struck the bear in the side of the head, snapping its head to the right with a loud crunch. The thing collapsed on the ground, unmoving. Her teammates up in the trees paused when they saw that. Karin watched as he descended down like a golden god as he landed right in front of her. She looked up towards him As he extended a hand down towards her, she gently took said hand. As he helped her up on her feet, she looked towards him. That was when she saw them. "Behind you!" she yelled. However, Naruto did not even move. He simply pulled her close. As he held her, golden discs appeared around him and struck down all the kunais and shurikens with lightning. Karen felt the sensation that they moved, but it was so effortless and so clean. As Naruto stood behind her teammate, "I made you a promise," Naruto said. His body fell off the branch, without a head, the other one, visibly shaking and shocked. As Naruto stepped towards him, he started to fall as he landed on the ground harshly. In pain as Naruto landed, his feet almost crushing his skull, but he did not. "Look at me," said Naruto, as he gazed right into his eyes. He was still holding on to Karen, who was safely in his arms, afraid to even move, but she felt so comfortable. "I want you to go back to your village and tell them that the new head of the Uzumaki clan, Naruto Uzumaki, has hereby indoctrinated Karen Uzumaki within the clan once again. And if they have a problem with that, tell them I don't really care about what they think. Their opinions and matters does not mean shit to me," said Naruto. The guy was visibly shaking on the ground. "That's the only reason why you're surviving today. To be my messenger. Now, go!" The guy quickly scrambled to his feet and ran, without looking back. Karen finally felt herself dislodged from Naruto, even though she didn't want it. She didn't want to let go. He looked at her. As the words came to her lips, You're the head of the Uzumaki clan?" she said with a shocked look on her face. Her mother had told her all about that clan. However, her mother told her to keep her name a secret. Even within the grass, her last name was a secret, as many people would find her very important and very usable. That was one of the very reasons why she stopped trying to run away, knowing that out there her life would be in constant danger, especially if anyone found out that she's a Uzumaki. She thought that she was the only one left, but she was wrong. As Naruto's gaze suddenly snapped away from her, "We must go." He wrapped his arm around her waist, gently putting her to his side. She couldn't help it as she wrapped her arms around him, despite not even knowing him just yet. The both of them once again vanished, as she felt the transition, but it felt so effortless. A few minutes earlier, both Sakura and Sasuke came across a foe that they could not hope to defeat. Sasuke got bit in the neck. Sakura remembered about the weapon as she launched it right towards a foe who pulled back from Sasuke, who was now in agony on the ground. In that very instant, Naruto appeared behind the weapon as he launched it with more force. Orochimaru, he tried to move, but his right arm was completely ripped off. Naruto held his hand up and brought his two fingers down. Weapons descended upon the Sannin, causing mass explosion and collision. Naruto flew forward and grabbed Sasuke, whose body had been lifted up because of the blast. As Karen was still holding on to him, he descended down and handed Sasuke over to Sakura. As he flew forward, Naruto looked down at the dismembered form of the Sannin. He knew who Orochimaru was, of course. That is when Naruto saw it. The ground exploded as another Orochimaru emerged. Just his very long neck and his very powerful tongue intending on wrapping around Naruto. However, the Sannin felt strange, confused. His head had been removed. Naruto flew forward and kicked it with a violent force, slamming it in a tree. Orochimaru did not notice the blade. Extending his neck was a stupid idea. However, his head turned into mud. So did his body. The real Orochimaru broke from the ground, shooting upwards towards Naruto. He thrust his hand out as snakes shoot out intending on wrapping around Naruto. However, Orochimaru was now ready. He twisted mid-air, dodging the first blade. Boom! It exploded right in his face. His body crashed hard as another blade teared into his stomach. However, this was no ordinary weapon. Upon making contact, the Sannin found his skin getting cold and more pale than it ever was. His skin slowly started to turn into ice. Orochimaru felt the chakra literally freezing up inside of him. He quickly performed his technique and jumped out of his own mouth. He watched as his body shatter into nothingness. A shocked, surprised look was on the Sannin's face. That is when he heard something as he looked up. Standing in mid-air looking down towards him, those cold eyes. For the first time in a very long while, Orochimaru felt fear. True utter fear. As he looked behind Naruto. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below and turn on that bell notification say posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon guys. Peace.